Our planet Earth is a stunningly diverse and intricate tapestry of varying landscapes, from river valleys and forests to deserts and towering mountain ranges. Each of these terrains is rich with resources that humans have utilized since the dawn of civilization. Small settlements evolved into villages, towns, cities, and eventually sprawling empires. Yet alongside creation and progress, humanity's history is equally marked by conquest and destruction. Driven by selfishness and greed, humans have often resorted to force to exploit the labor of others and seize their possessions. The first recorded war in history occurred between Elam and the Sumerian king of Kish, who proudly claimed he had taken the spoils and weapons of the Elamites. However, this is merely one example among countless conflicts, many of which remain undocumented. Among the contested territories on Earth, few have seen as much strife as the Levant, a region along the eastern Mediterranean coast. Known in antiquity as the land of Canaan, this area has been a focal point of imperial ambitions for millennia. While not particularly abundant in natural resources, Canaan's strategic importance made it a coveted prize for empires. It was not only a critical crossroads for armies, but also the central hub of trade routes connecting Egypt and the broader Near East. Controlling Canaan allowed empires to regulate and tax the lucrative flow of commerce. Yet dominating this region was no simple task, given its challenging and varied terrain. The land of Canaan, though relatively small, features extreme topographical and climatic diversity, dividing it into distinct micro-regions. Broadly speaking, it can be categorized into four main zones: the coastal plain, the hill country, the Jordan Rift Valley, and the Transjordanian Plateau. A cross-sectional view of the region highlights these divisions. Due to the region's geography, most of its significant rainfall occurs west of the Jordan Rift Valley, leaving the rift itself and areas to the east relatively arid. As a result, the most fertile farmland was located along the coastal plain. However, the reliance on seasonal rainfall made the coastal plain and hill country vulnerable to periodic droughts and famine. To endure these harsh conditions, the inhabitants of Canaan were often forced to store food and water for times of scarcity. Those who failed to prepare faced two stark choices: conflict or migration. This reliance on self-sufficiency and the fragmented nature of the terrain encouraged a fiercely independent and often divided mentality among the Canaanites. Despite their shared languages, religions, and cultural practices, the Canaanites were frequently at odds with one another. They were primarily indigenous to the region, descended from prehistoric inhabitants, and prone to internal strife. When hardship struck, many sought refuge in Mesopotamia or Egypt, the two early cradles of human civilization. The fertile river valleys of these regions offered abundant resources, although their flat, open landscapes lacked natural defenses. In contrast, Canaan's hill country offered significant defensive advantages. Its elevation changes and rugged terrain made unification difficult, but also posed formidable challenges to would-be conquerors. Many cities were strategically built in the hill country, prioritizing defense and access to water from rivers, streams, and rainwater cisterns, even at the expense of more fertile farmland elsewhere. This intricate interplay of geography, resource availability, and human behavior shaped the history of Canaan, making it one of the most contested regions in human history. Its story is a testament to the enduring struggle between survival, division, and unity amidst the challenges of the natural world. Cities like Lachish, Jerusalem, Samaria, and Hebron were chosen as power centers in ancient Canaan for their strategic locations, making them difficult to besiege. In the north, where the hill country merges with the coastal plain, the Canaanites of the heavily forested region developed expertise as seafarers and merchants. Their high-quality wood was highly sought after across the ancient Mediterranean. These northern Canaanites would later be known as the Phoenicians. While the hill country of Canaan is not particularly unique, the Jordan Rift Valley stands out as one of the most extreme topographic features on Earth. The Dead Sea shoreline is the lowest point of land on the planet, and the Dead Sea itself, along with the Sea of Galilee, are the two lowest lakes in the world. The northern and southern parts of the rift are drastically different. The The southern region is arid, and the Dead Sea's extreme salinity, 6 times that of the ocean, makes it largely inhospitable. In contrast, the northern rift is wetter, with fresh water, marshlands, ample wildlife, and farmland. In the northern rift, Hazor was the dominant city-state for approximately 1,000 years. The kings of Hazor wielded enough power to command coalitions of northern Canaanite city-states. In the south, however, Jericho was the only notable city-state, primarily because it had access to a rare and significant source of fresh water in an otherwise dry region. On the Transjordan Plateau, 2 notable civilizations, the Ammonites and the Moabites, emerged. By the later 2nd millennium BC, they had developed into centralized kingdoms, centered around modest river valleys fed by underground springs flowing into the Jordan River. Further north, the region was dominated by the Amorites and later the Arameans, both of whom originated near what is now Syria. The economies of Ammon and Moab relied heavily on inland trade routes connecting the Near East to Egypt. These trade routes passed through Edom, whose inhabitants, the Edomites, were a Semitic-speaking people. With limited fertile farmland, the Edomites were primarily semi-nomadic pastoralists, supplementing their livelihood by taxing trade and at times resorting to banditry. The strategic importance of Canaan was recognized as early as Egypt's first dynasty. Near modern-day Gaza, the Egyptians constructed a fortress to safeguard their economic and military interests in the region. Over time, however, the coastal Canaanites reclaimed the site. During the early Bronze Age, several fortified Canaanite towns evolved into cities, with Megiddo and Jericho among the most prominent. Yet, the end of the early Bronze Age saw the depopulation and abandonment of many of these urban centers, giving way to smaller farming villages and a semi-nomadic lifestyle. Urbanization returned during the Middle Bronze Age with even greater vigor. Hazor rose as the leading city-state in northern Canaan, while Ashdod and Ashkelon dominated the coastal plain. In the hill country, Lachish, Jerusalem, and Hebron became key urban centers. As the region prospered and trade flourished, it attracted the attention of powerful empires. Egypt, under Pharaoh Senusret III, was the first recorded imperial power to campaign in Canaan, establishing vassalage and extracting tribute and plunder. While Egypt applied pressure from the south, the Amorite kingdom of Qatna exerted influence from the north, extracting tribute and making Hazor a nominal vassal. This dual pressure likely spurred many Canaanites to migrate into the Nile Delta. The Egyptians referred to this wave of predominantly Canaanite migrants as the Hyksos. Around 1650 BC, the Hyksos overthrew the Egyptians and ruled as pharaohs in the Nile Delta for a time before being defeated and expelled by a resurgent Egyptian kingdom. Following the traumatic experience of the Hyksos invasion and occupation, Egypt became heavily militarized, prioritizing control over Canaan to prevent a similar event from happening again. During the New Kingdom period, Egyptian pharaohs consistently campaigned in the Levant, subjugating the region and turning Canaanite city-states into vassals. Under Pharaoh Thutmose III, a coalition of Canaanite kings rebelled, leading to the famous Battle of Megiddo. This battle, the earliest in recorded history to include details such as dates, tactics, casualties, and plunder, ended with Thutmose III's victory. However, it took nearly 14 additional campaigns to suppress rebellions and fully secure the Levant. Megiddo, strategically located at the entry to the Jezreel Valley, was a vital crossroads for trade and military movement between the Canaanite coastal plain and the broader Near East. Its importance made it a frequent battleground throughout history. From ancient kings and empires to medieval crusaders and modern armies, the valley has witnessed countless conflicts. Napoleon Bonaparte and Saladin fought battles there, as did the British and Ottoman empires during World War I. The biblical narrative also highlights the Jezreel Valley's significance, with stories such as King Saul's defeat by the Philistines and the prophecy in the book of Revelation, foretelling the last battle known as Armageddon, a name derived from the Hebrew Har Megiddo, meaning Mount Megiddo. Recognizing the valley's strategic importance, the ancient Egyptians constructed a fortress and administrative center at the intersection of the Jezreel Valley and the Jordan Rift. For over 350 years, Egypt maintained control over Canaan, successfully protecting the Road of Horus, a critical route for military and economic activity. Despite periodic rebellions and territorial losses, Egypt's dominance ensured relative peace and prosperity for the region, supported by diplomacy with other Near Eastern empires. This stability came to a sudden end with the Bronze Age collapse, a catastrophic period marked by the fall of empires, widespread death, and a loss of literacy and culture across the Near East. During this time, the Sea Peoples, a mysterious confederation of seafaring groups, attempted an amphibious assault on the Nile Delta, but were repelled by Egypt. Among them were the Peleset, who later resettled in Canaan's coastal plain, intermingling with surviving Canaanites to form the Philistines. These new inhabitants filled the power vacuum left by Egypt's withdrawal. In the interior, tribal groups established themselves, eventually forming the Kingdom of Israel, which later split into the northern Kingdom of Israel and the southern Kingdom of Judah. Samaria became the capital of the northern kingdom, often clashing with the Aramean Kingdom of Damascus. Meanwhile, the unconquered Canaanites of the northern coast recovered and, known to the Greeks as the Phoenicians, established prosperous city-states. The Phoenicians later founded Carthage, a city famous for its conflicts with Rome and its legendary general Hannibal. Over time, successive empires, including the Assyrians, dominated the Levant. These conquests brought significant cultural and linguistic changes, transitioning from Semitic dialects to Aramaic, Greek, and eventually Arabic. Modern populations in the region likely include partial descendants of the ancient Canaanites, though the exact genetic and cultural ties remain a topic of debate. Regardless of these ancestral connections, the focus should remain on treating all people with dignity and respect, judging individuals by their actions rather than their heritage. This ethos underscores the importance of unity and mutual understanding in a historically complex and diverse region. If you found today's topic interesting, make sure you check in the description for an assortment of books on the topic. What video would you like to see next? Be sure to let us know in the comments.
If you enjoy our content, we'd love your support. By joining one of our channel memberships, you help us continue creating videos like this one while gaining access to some amazing perks. As a member, you'll unlock exclusive content available only to supporters, earn loyalty badges to show off in comments and live chats, and enjoy priority responses to your comments, shoutouts, and more. The best part? Memberships start at just $2.99 a month, less than a cup of coffee. Even small contributions make a big difference for the PJ Bible TV team in covering production costs and delivering the content you love. And if you're not ready to become a channel member today but still want to support us, there are other ways to help. Engaging with our videos is a tremendous way to show your support. By taking just a few moments to like the video, share it with friends, family, or on social media, and leave a comment, you're telling the YouTube algorithm to share our content with more people. Your support, no matter how you choose to show it, means the world to us. Thank you for being part of the PJ Bible TV community.